A big thank you to all our listeners who have taken the time today. And of course, welcome Ibrahim. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Now,
You're welcome.
Michael Kors, sure, thank you. Now, Michael Kors obviously, is an iconic brand, a global brand, a public company. Can you share something about the brand or maybe, the designer behind the brand that isn't really common knowledge?
Um, Nikhil, what a lot of people might not know about Michael Kors, and this is Michael Kors, the man, not the brand, is that his real name, or he was actually born and given the name Carl Anderson Jr. So, well, that's a far cry from Michael Kors, right? Well, what happened was his mother remarried Bill Kors when he was 5 years old. So he changed his surname, and then she also gave him the option to change his first name as well, and that's how the name Michael Kors came about. And, I have another, I guess, interesting snippet for your attendees. Michael Kors, at the age of 5, he was actually in a Lucky Charms cereal commercial. So if you go online and you Google Michael Kors Lucky Charms cereal commercial, like I'm sure many of your listeners are doing right now, you'll see a great black and white picture of him. That is something that I only found out when I joined the company, and we always reference that as a nice little tidbit for anybody who doesn't know much about Michael.
Well, I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that, Ibrahim. So you've been at Michael Kors for, I think, more than 5 years now, leading customer support, right? What can you tell us about the customer that you support? Who is the Michael Kors customer?
So Nikhil, the Michael Kors woman, she runs the gamut from the busy mom to the high-powered executive, the party girl, and of course the global traveler. If you've ever seen any of our catalogs or our online marketing images, you'll see she's always jet-setting off to some exotic location. If you were to ask the folks internally here, they would describe her as someone who's subtly chic, very polished, feminine, and above all, she's glamorous 24/7. But we also have the Michael Kors man, and he exudes a sense of, effortless luxury. He's confident, connected, adventurous, and I guess simplistic with a bit of a modern edge to him.
Right. That's great. Thank you. So now, this is the customer that many companies want, right? Tell us, how do you engage this customer, and maybe share a little bit about how you've evolved your engagement strategy?
Sure. So I guess this all started about 5 years ago, right, where Michael Kors, the organization, made a strategic decision to bring a lot of our outsourced services in-house. So we were planning to bring in our website, as well as our fulfillment and distribution services, along with changing our call center providers. So as you can imagine, this is a mammoth operation trying to synchronize these three critical aspects of an e-commerce business to all align on the same day and all launch on the same day. Well, we were able to do that very successfully. And then once that all transitioned, we then needed to find a way to be where our customer is, right? We needed to be where she is and allow her to connect with us through a channel that's most comfortable with her. So when we did this transition, we already supported the traditional channels, phone and email. And I'd say over the last year and a half or so, we started supporting level 2 social media interactions, kind of dipping our toes into the digital channels. And more recently, we decided, the next logical channel for us to support would be chat. So once we made that decision, we had to kind of design what we wanted the chat experience to be. One of the first things we decided on was, what are going to be the hours of operation? So in my call center, we support the U.S. and Canada in both English and French Canadian. But for the U.S. market, we said we wanted to support the chat channel between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That gave us the opportunity of doing a 2-shift schedule, with most of the chat agents being available for the bigger part of the day. Then we needed to determine what is going to be our engagement approach, right? And we decided on more of a reactive than a proactive approach when engaging customers via chat. This is to make sure that we kept with the brand experience. We wanted to ensure that chat was not going to be something that's too intrusive or detract from the browsing experience or even overwhelm the visitor with too many chat invitations. Once we determined what our engagement strategy was going to be, we thought, how do we manage customers' expectations now? So what we did was we built in some logic that would suppress the chat icon when the expected wait time was longer than 3 minutes. This way we try to manage the customer's expectations and don't have them queuing and not knowing when they're actually going to have their chat session start. Along with that, we wanted to kind of proactively answer some questions the customers may not even know they had, and we did that by developing some contextual guidance with really insightful and relevant content. So when they landed on certain product pages that we wanted to promote, they were able to easily find any answers to questions they may have. So once we had all that, we decided, okay, we're ready to launch. I think in retrospect, there was a couple of things I would have probably done differently because we decided to launch web chat in late November. So this is just prior to Black Friday and, the Cyber Monday holiday rush, which is crazy time in retail. We were limited to about 15 licenses at launch, again, for both U.S. and Canadian markets. In retrospect, not the best time to launch because, for about 2 to 3 months, we were slammed with really high chat volumes, and it was a struggle for us to meet our SLAs and even just to stay above water. But I think for us, jumping into the deep end like that gave us some great opportunities to gather really insightful feedback about the main reasons that customers are actually reaching out to chat with us, right? And what we were able to do, and the learnings was that we were able to determine that the answers to many of the questions customers are actually chatting with us about could easily be found on the website and really didn't need human intervention for resolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you touched upon something that, that I think we've heard from many of our other customers as well, right? Chat works well when, when the customer wants to chat. And that ends up being, a small slice of web traffic because it's inefficient and it's expensive to scale as well, right? So how do you reach that majority, that 99%, of people who have questions, who may not even know they have questions, right? And certainly may not necessarily want to engage in a chat.
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, right, we started off with 15 licenses, and that had to be spread across 2 markets, the U.S. and Canada, and across 2 languages. So it's not like I always had 15 FTE available at all times, right? And we had this huge influx of customers that want to chat to us through this, on-demand, readily available channel. So what we did was we started looking at automation and self-service to reduce the amount of unproductive chats currently being handled by style consultants. Style consultants is the name we give our agents. So we looked at ways of automation and self-service, and we were able to find and identify at least the top 20 reasons why customers chat with us that didn't require any human intervention. And I would say this is akin to a project that we did on our traditional phone lines. What we observed on our phone lines was that at any given time, depending whether it's a sale period or not, about 25 to 35, even sometimes up to 40% of our phone volume was customers calling for the status of their order. We call them WISMO calls, which is an acronym for Where Is My Order? So you had, at any given time, 25 to 40% of the volume are from customers who just want a simple question answered, what's happening with their order, right? And I wanted to get all these unproductive calls out of the hands of a live agent. So what we did was we implemented a self-service solution through our IVR. So when customers call now, they can actually speak their order number into the phone system. It does a lookup, and it actually repeats it back to the customer or the caller to say, hey, congratulations, your order has shipped. It actually tells them the name of the product and provides them the tracking number. and we've seen phenomenal success by deflecting this unproductive volume away from our live agents and letting them self-serve through the IVR. So the intention would be to replicate that model, but do it in chat. We want to do it through some automated self-serve solution.
Right.
The benefit of that would be that, some of these low-hanging fruits and questions that can easily be answered, we can actually now turn on the chat feature and make it available 24/7 to customers and not just limited to this 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time frame.
Right. Can you tell us what's going on with this, with the screenshot here, right? I see that this seems to be from this past Mother's Day. Tell us what's going on there with that little notification that's popping up. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so again, this is a part of our concierge service, which is some of the features that the Moxie application provides. This allows us to provide, contextual guidance and in-context insights that allows our marketing and e-commerce team to quickly configure any type of special message or notification. We just completed our Mother's Day promotion, and we were able to quickly insert similar messages like this that is relevant to the page that the customer is on. If the customer happened to go onto the page that displays all the information about our smartwatches or our Access watches, they might be able to see that we have a special where if you purchase a Bradshaw smartwatch, you can get 2 free additional bands. So we can do things on the fly, do it in near real time, and serve, relevant contextual information to the customer that might, drive engagement or increase conversion rate.
That's great. So the best service is no service, right? Providing that,
yes.
that contextual information when they need it is really what makes
exactly.
it.
I really want to be in a situation where I practically don't have a job anymore, where the customer has no need to call us, right? That is really the utopian experience from a customer service experience. But that's what we're trying to do here.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about results, right? How do you measure success of these engagement strategies?
Yeah, great question. One of the main things that we measure and we track on a daily basis is what we call chat-assisted sales. I want to just take a minute here to kind of share some insights with the listeners. If any of them are harboring any doubts about implementing chat, then I think that the statistics that I'm going to mention now will help convince them, or at least allow the listeners to build a really solid and robust business case with some proven ROI justification. So what have we seen in terms of chat-assisted sales, right? We've seen an increase in our website conversion rate after a customer engages us through chat. The online conversion rate has increased by 483%. It's roughly a 5 times lift that we've tracked from when we launched in November through the end of March, which was our fiscal year end. We've seen roughly a 5 times lift of customers who convert after chatting with a style consultant. Right? That was over a 5-month period. Just phenomenal results. And Nikhil, the one thing that I've been wrestling with here is that, the call center, we like to consider ourselves a self-funding, right? So we want to generate sales to offset our call center cost. And one of the things that I was wrestling with is if I take people off the phone and put them on chat, will they drive incremental sales? And we can clearly see that here. And what we've also done, and with your help, is that the call center gets recognition for any chat-assisted sales that happens within a 72-hour window from the time the chat occurred. So I know, Nikhil, when we initially discussed this, we said we should only be looking at I said we should be maybe looking at a 24-hour window. And with your guidance, you said, we're literally leaving sales on the floor by not looking at a longer period.
That's right.
Yep.
That's great. That's fantastic.
So besides the actual chat-assisted sales, another critical, measurement for us is voice of the customer. Currently on our traditional phone lines and on our email channel, we have an after-call survey with with 5 satisfaction questions where the customer can score the style consultant on a scale of 1 to 5 about the service that they've experienced through that respective channel. So 5 questions about satisfaction and 1 question about, were we able to answer their question on that particular contact? So we were measuring first contact resolution. And I can say, over the last 3 years, we've been able to fine-tune our service on the phone channel where our satisfaction scores are really top box between 4.5 or 4.5 and 4.9, 4.9 out of 5, and first call resolution hovering any time anywhere between, 88, sometimes in the low 90%. So that's been our benchmark for chat as well. We want to get to at least an 88% first call resolution on the chat channel. It's been early days for us, and we're working towards getting there. We have some ideas and initiatives in place to get us there, but we're not there yet. But at least it's something that we know we need to work on, and we're working towards it. The third, I guess, key metric we look at is quality assurance. So similar to how you do QA on the phones, we have a very similar QA quality assurance form for both emails and chat as well. And the interesting thing that we found was that the quality assurance on the chat channel when compared to the phone and email channels has the highest QA score. Knowing that, there's parity between the QA forms, they're all very similar with the types of questions that they ask. It's obviously just modified per channel. But we saw that chat has the highest QA score. And then finally, something that we weren't sure about when we started was, was there going to be some type of channel shift once we launched chat? And obviously, channel customers started chatting through us through the new channel. We did see a shift from traditional emails since launching chat, and I'd much prefer to have customers chat with us because, we can do 2 to 3 times concurrency where emails are always going to be single thread, first in, first out. So those are the 4, key metrics we were looking at when we launched chat and still ongoing now that it has been launched.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing those, and I really appreciate the level of thought that you've put behind measuring the effectiveness of chat, right? Not just from a conversion perspective, but all the way through to performance and efficiencies and so on and so forth, right? So really thank you for sharing that. So I promise this is my last question before we open up for Q&A. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of our listeners today, right? So maybe I'm about to embark on a similar journey that you and Michael Kors has. What tips would you share? How can our listeners be as successful as Michael Kors has been in this journey?
Yeah, Nikhil, it's been a very long journey for us, right? I think me and you have been attached at the hips now for almost, over a year now, trying to get this up and running, and then your ongoing support. So, at Michael Kors, when we started down this journey, we reviewed many different chat providers, right? And we decided on Moxie because we felt that your solution provided the best customer experience and the set of products for our need at this time, right? And I have to say that I've been very happy with not only the application, but the ongoing support from you and your team. So, selecting the right provider is absolutely critical. Once you've done that and you're ready to start your chat journey, you need to determine what is going to be your engagement approach, right? Is it going to be proactive or reactive? And I don't think that is a decision necessarily only to be made by the call center. I think that needs to be across business units, marketing, e-commerce, and of course the call center as well. Because, the answer to that question will drive how you scale and plan your staffing needs. And proactive and reactive engagement may also affect or reflect on the brand image depending on how the brand perceives itself. I'd say another important takeaway is to select the right agents or style consultants in our case for the role. Just because someone is great on the phones does not always translate into them being great chat agents. The way we did this is we posted for the position, and we then put the candidates who were successful through the initial interview through a series of evaluations that allowed us to, determine the level of skill as it relates to grammar, or how good they are at closing sales, their typing skills, how effectively can they represent the brand through this channel. So again, this is a very critical step, because your sales agents or your chat agents are going to be literally the face of the brand to the customer through chat. The fourth tip I would say is, deploying chat does take a lot of work, and it's going to involve a lot of pre-work from you and your team. My suggestion would be to develop a really robust project plan with key milestones to ensure that you launch on time with no scope creep. Now, if your operation is very similar to ours, I'm sure that there will be a larger project plan in place that's probably driven by a PMO organization. And this larger project plan will obviously include tasks from IT, e-commerce, marketing, editorial, etc. But that plan that exists may not have all the minutia tasks required from the call center to ensure a successful launch. And when I say that, I'm talking about specific things that we had to take on ourselves to make sure it gets done that might not have been captured on the greater project plan. That would include things, for example, creating a staffing and scheduling model within the Moxie application. We need to create logins for all the agents, right? You need to define the support hours. You need to create your response templates. You need to define what your reporting needs are. And all those very specific call center tasks may not be captured in the greater organizational project plan. So if you have someone on your team, or you yourself is comfortable managing this in Microsoft Project or some type of project tool, I would really encourage you to do that. After you launch, I would say this is what we're doing, but you need to continuously monitor and your performance and identify any opportunities to improve. That's what we're currently doing now with our first call resolution initiative. We know that our first call resolution needs to be at least on par with first call resolution that we experience on the phone, so we have a plan to address that. And finally, and this is very important, I would say, you need to foster a really strong internal partnership with the other departments, because they all have a vested interest in the success of chat. And in my world, it would be the e-commerce department and the marketing teams. Fortunately, I could say I have a very good working relationship with my cross-functional colleagues. We've established some feedback mechanisms where I'm able to provide them with insight as to what we're seeing or hearing from our customers. If we need to make any changes or tweaks to the chat logic, we all just get on the call, decide what's the best way forward, not only from a service perspective, but what's right for the brand, and we make the decisions. I wouldn't say that the chat experience and the chat solution is solely driven by one business team. It's a shared vision across multiple teams and organizations within Michael Kors. So I would say, Nikhil, those would be my 6 key takeaways for hopefully a successful launch and implementation of chat.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Ibrahim, for sharing all of that.